Welcome to The Passing of the Armies, our continuing weekly podcast series that explores the memoir written by Civil War General Joshua Chamberlain and released the year after his death in 1915. We hope you enjoy the series.
The Passing of the Armies. Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain. Chapter 2. The Overture. Grant's general plan involved an alternative, to cut Lee's communications or turn the right flank of his entrenched line, and in case of the success of either, to take Petersburg by direct front attack. To carry out this plan, he appointed Sheridan with the cavalry of the Army of the Shenandoah, 2 divisions under General Merritt, and the cavalry division now commanded by General Crook, formerly belonging to the Army of the Potomac. He was to have the 5th Corps as infantry support, to be followed, if necessary, by the 2nd Corps. General Meade, commanding the Army of the Potomac, was to accompany the movement. The ground about to be traversed by us is flat and swampy, cut up by sluggish streams which, after every rain, become nearly impassable. The soil is a mixture of clay and sand, quite apt in wet weather to take the character of sticky mire or of quicksands. The principal roads for heavy travel have to be corduroyed or overlaid with plank. When the instructions for this campaign reached us, all were animated with confidence of quick success. If Lee's lines before Petersburg were held in place, it would be easy work to cut his communications, turn his right, and roll him back upon Petersburg or Richmond. If, on the other hand, his main lines were stripped to resist our attack, our comrades in the old lines would make short work of Lee's entrenchments and his army. At daylight on the 29th of March, the 5th Corps moved out toward the enemy's right. As the movement was intended to mask its destination by a considerable detour to the rear, our column first moved southward to Arthur's Swamp, crossing the Rowanty at Monk's Bridge, and thence by way of the old stage road into and down the Vaughan. My brigade, being the advance of the 1st Division, reached the Chappie House, about 2 miles from Dinwiddie, early in the forenoon, encountering only a few cavalry pickets. Sheridan, with the cavalry moving by a still exterior route, was pushing on towards Dinwiddie Courthouse. I formed a plan which I communicated to General Griffin, who approved it, and directed General Gregory to support me on the left, as I should instruct him, and also directed General Bartlett to be ready to take part as circumstances should require. Things being thus arranged, I placed General Horatio Sickle with 8 companies on the right below the ruined bridge, with instructions to pour a hot fire upon the enemy opposite when, with the rest of the brigade, I would ford the stream waist deep above the bridge and strike the enemy's right flank obliquely. This led to a hand-to-hand encounter. The attack was impetuous, the musketry hot. Major Glenn, with his 6 companies in skirmishing order, dashed through the stream and struck the enemy's breastworks front and flank. In a moment everything started loose. The entire brigade forded the stream and rolled forward, closing upon Glenn right and left, and the whole command swept onward like a wave, carrying all before it a mile or more up the road to the buildings of the Lewis farm. The enemy, now reinforced, made a decided stand, and the fight became sharp. But our enveloping line pressed them so severely that they fell back after each struggle to the edge of a thick wood, where a large body had gathered behind a substantial breastwork of logs and earth. A withering volley breaks our line into groups. Courage and resolution are great, but some other sentiment mightier for the moment controls our men. A backward movement begins, but the men retire slowly, bearing their wounded with them, and even some of their dead. The enemy, seeing this recoil, pour out of their shelter and make a dash upon our broken groups, but only to be dashed back in turn, hand to hand in eddying whirls. And seized by our desperate fellows, so many are dragged along as prisoners in the receding tide that it is not easy to tell which side is the winning one. Much of the enemy's aim is unsteady, for the flame and murk of their thickening fire in the heavy moist air are blown back into their eyes by the freshening south wind. But reinforcements are coming in, deepening and broadening their line beyond both our flanks. Now roar and tumult of motion for a fierce pulse of time, then again a quivering halt. At length one vigorous dash drives the assailants into the woods again with heavy loss. We had cleared the field and thought it best to be content with that for the present. We reform our lines each side the buildings of the Lewis farm and take account of the situation. We had about 100 prisoners from Wise's and Wallace's brigades, who said nearly all Anderson's division were with them, and that more were coming, and they were bound to hold this outpost, covering the junction of two roads, which are main arteries of their vital hold, the White Oak and the Boyton Plank. We found General Griffin there and were relieved to see that he did not find fault with us, although we had not done all that we expected. Perhaps not all that was expected of us. We had been repulsed, no doubt, but there was more to be done. I wondered why Gregory had not attacked on the enemy's right flank when they were driving us back, but found he had difficulty with the streams, which were almost impassable. But our work was still before us. I saw that General Griffin was anxious to carry the enemy's position, and I as anxiously formed a new line for the assault. So we were in for it again, and almost in cavalry fashion, giving the right of the line to General Sickle, and the left to Colonel Sniper, on each side the road. I took Major Glenn with his 6 companies for a straight dash up the Quaker Road, our objective point being a heap of sawdust where a portable mill had stood, now the center of the enemy's strong advanced line. We received a hot fire which we did not halt to return, as that would expose us to heavy loss, but advanced at the double quick to go over the enemy's works with the bayonet. At close quarters, the sharpshooters in the treetops cut us up badly, but we still pressed on, only now and then, here and there delivering fire ourselves. In the full crescendo of this, now close to the sawdust pile, my horse, wild for the front, all his pulses aglow, was exceeding the possible pace of the men following, and I gave him a vigorous check on the curb. Resenting this, he touched his 4 feet to earth only to rebound head-high to the level of my face. Just at that instant, a heavy blow struck me on the left breast just below the heart. I fell forward on my horse's neck and lost all consciousness. Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the series. Be sure to be with us for our next installment. I'm Robert Child, and this has been The Passing of the Armies, only on Point of the Spear.
Music licensed from audioblocks.com. Point of the Spear is produced by RSC Media Group.